oh, 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 oh.
Hello everyone. Today we'll be working on our body paragraphs for our essay. For starters, I need for everyone to get out the article that we have been reading over the last few class periods. I need for you to get out your article, a clean sheet of paper, and a pencil. And pause this video until everybody has out all the materials that they need. Okay, now that you got out all your materials, while writing your paragraph, you need to use your outline so that you can stay on topic. So for the outline, as you guys can see, it should have already been passed out to you. If it hasn't been, then you can pause this video again and go ahead and pass out the outlines. But for the outline, as you can see, there are four main elements in your outline. There's identifying a persuasive element, there is specific examples, citing the source, and then the connection. For identifying persuasive elements, you're going to show me what persuasive elements or evidence the author uses. So if, for example, if you are a lawyer and you're trying to prove somebody committed a crime, you need to tell me what pieces of evidence are you going to use? Are you going to use witnesses? Are you going to use the actual weapons that were used? So on and so forth. That's what identifying persuasive elements are. The author, he makes his point by using certain quotes. He'll use certain stats. He might use certain facts. He might use all of those things. So you're going to tell me what exactly did the author use to make his point. From there, when it says specific example, okay, so let's say if you use one of his metaphors, for example. Okay, now I need for you to state which metaphor did the author use. So if he uses a metaphor where he's comparing the world's population to a hand, for example, to show how the rich is really, really wealthy and they represent the thumb, and the poor are really, really poor and weak, and that represents the pinky finger, then that's fine. But you need to give me a specific example that he uses. Not only that, but then you also need to cite your source. I know you got it from the article, but where in the article? When does the author state this? Was it in paragraph 4? Was it paragraph 14? But you need to tell me, where does he state this? He or she, whoever the author may be. Last but not least, you need to make the connection. So explain how this evidence connects to whatever the author's claim is. So you should be able to identify what the author's claim is in the article, and then you are going to tell me, how does whatever is said connect to the author's claim? So let's use an example. Based on, we'll use an example of the author's claim. The author's claim here is heroes need to face adversity before they reach their full potential. So I am going to need for someone to read the following paragraph aloud. Using your outline, you will tell me if the paragraph is worth a 0 or an 8 and have an explanation for why. You're going to discuss that with your group members, but you're going to read this particular paragraph that's about to show up and pause the video when the paragraph comes up. And then after that, we'll discuss if that is a 0 or an 8. Based on what was just read, again, based on what I'm looking for in the outline, and you discuss with your group members the quality of this paragraph. Give it a 0 to an 8 and be able to explain why. Okay, so many of you might have said that this paragraph looks good. However, based on what we talked about, this paragraph is not really well written. And here's why. While it may sound good, some parts of the outline are missing, and we did not really expand on any of these ideas that well. Let's see why. So in The Lion King, it talks about Simba. Well, first of all, who is that? Right? Like this paragraph doesn't even address who that is. Not only that, it talks about the hyenas and him running away. Well, when did this take place? If I've never seen this movie, I don't know what the author is talking about. It talks about Timon and Pumbaa. Who are they? Why are they important? Pride Rock, where is that? Nala, who is she and why is she important? It then talks about Simba soon stood up against his uncle. Well, what is the significance of his uncle? Who is his uncle? And then last but not least, it says, well, yeah, Simba eventually led to him becoming a great king. Well, what does he define as being a great king? All these things are important for us answering these questions of, what adversity does he have to overcome and what does he have to go through? These things are all definitely important, and I'll show you guys a better version of this in a second. So a better version of it may look a little something like this. Many heroes run from their problems before tackling them head on. For example, in Lion King, the main character, Simba, experienced adversity several times throughout the film. As a young child, he oftentimes got caught up in messes that his father would have to fix for him. However, after the death of his father, Mufasa, Simba finds himself in trouble with some hungry hyenas. When attacked by the hyenas, he fled and became an outcast. Later, Simba was saved by fellow outcasts Timon and Pumbaa. Simba, who was still young, would be raised by Timon and Pumbaa and later provide them with protection as he gets older. He learned to live like them, survived for several years outside of his original home, Pride Rock, and eventually met with former friend Nala, who convinced him to come back home because his pride needed him. By learning more about himself, Simba soon stood up against his main adversary, his uncle Scar, who killed his father. After defeating Scar, Simba rose to take his place as the true king. Simba's decision to face adversity rather than flee from it let him develop and become open to new experiences, just like his father, Mufasa. Okay, now can you hear the difference between the two versions of evidence? We have included context. Context provides specific, relevant details from the text to support our ideas and make them stronger. By expanding ideas in our outline, we are able to give our readers a clear idea of what we are thinking. Using transition helps us flow from one idea to the next. So for your paragraph, that is what you guys are going to be doing. You are going to be picking out specific examples from the text, and then you're going to be using your outline to further explain how those ideas relate to the author's claim.